Well, John, we heard a pretty passionate argument from both sides in terms of this hearing just wrapped up. It lasted a little less than an hour, and we expect a final ruling, a decision by these 5 justices could come anytime before the election. This New York appellate court typically rules about a month after hearing oral arguments. Now, today, the 5 appellate justices heard arguments from former President Trump's lawyer, John Sauer. He successfully represented Trump in the presidential immunity case before the U.S. Supreme Court. Sauer made the case today that the $454 million judgment former President Trump was ordered to pay by Judge Engoron was grossly excessive and unconstitutional, in part because the allegations are past the statute of limitations, which at least one justice pushed back on. Listen.
There was just a complete disregard of statute of limitations and an analysis that again and again goes all the way back to 2012.
Even if we agree with you on the statute of limitations point, that would not result in the complaint in its entirety being dismissed. There would still be several transactions that would be not time barred or timely.
Judge Engoron found Trump, his 2 sons, and employees at the Trump Organization liable for committing fraud, inflating the value of Trump's assets and wealth on financial forms. The Office of New York Attorney General Letitia James, they argued today this was not a victimless fraud.
There was absolutely a public impact and a public interest here. First of all, when deceptively hidden risks are injected into the market, that does hurt the counterparties, and there was harm to the counterparties here, but it also harms other market participants and the market as a whole.
Again, at stake here is whether or not former President Trump is going to have to pay a $500 million judgment. The $454 million penalty has grown to $489 million over the last 7 months, and that's because the judgment is accruing $114,000 in interest every single day that it goes unpaid. And AG James, Letitia James, remember, she has threatened at one point to seize Trump's properties if he does not pay for this judgment. A simple majority decision by this court will either decide to keep the judgment as it is, John, reduce the amount owed, or completely overturn it. The former president is holding a newser at Trump Tower here in New York City at 4:30. Notable, he was not in court today.
Those that want people to believe that you want retribution, that you will use the system of justice to go after your political enemies.
Maybe smash a few things along the way.
Jerry with the killer meme as usual. What's going on, guys? My name is Danny D'Arbina. We're going to do our best to fill in for Benny today, who is directly in the path of Hurricane Helene down in Tampa, Florida. So while he keeps his family safe and dry, we'll be up here delivering the news to you because we are a team never quit. Trump is set to hold a breaking emergency press conference from Trump Tower any minute now. We'll take you live there as soon as he's on. This comes on the heels of Kamala just absolutely collapsing in her campaign. She's down, new models have Trump up +10 to win the presidential election. So they're in absolute panic. We have a few clips we'll play for you tonight of an absolute disaster interview she gave last night with the very colorful host there at MSNBC with some very interesting questions. So as soon as we see Trump again, we'll take you directly there. So again, let's set up this news week, right? It's been a lot of news going on. Trump yesterday giving an absolute blistering press conference from North Carolina, describing how Iran is trying to assassinate him. We're living through definitely historic times, and as we see, this response by Trump really captured the moment. We're having squads backed by foreign nations out to assassinate the leading presidential candidate. And so Trump had an absolute blistering message saying that he would blow them to smithereens if they ever got close to doing so. We have that clip for you. Let's play it.
If I were president and a former president and a leading candidate, I'm the leading candidate by far to be the next president. And that leading candidate was under threat. If I was president and the candidate was under threat, any candidate, Republican or Democrat, And by the way, I want to thank the Democrats because they just increased funding for the Secret Service, who worked very hard. They increased funding for the Secret Service, and nobody will believe this. It was a unanimous vote. Republicans, every single Republican, every single Democrat present voted in favor. That was the first unanimous vote we've seen in a long time, and that's to increase the funding of the Secret Service. So I thank everybody in Congress. But if I were the president, I would inform the threatening country, in this case Iran, that if you do anything to harm this person, we are going to blow your largest cities and the country itself to smithereens. We're going to blow it to smithereens. You can't do that. And there would be no more threats. There would be no more threats. But right now we don't have that leadership or the necessary people, the necessary leaders. We have two people, not one. We don't even know who our president is right now. Who is our president right now? We really don't know, but we have two people, not one, that only keep looking. And when you do that, when you just look, trouble always ensues. So it's big trouble for our country. Meanwhile, we have the president of Iran in our country this week. We have large security forces guarding him, and yet they're threatening our former president and the leading candidate to become the next president of the United States. Certainly a strange set of circumstances around.
Man, that's like Trump 2016 right there. So good. I don't know if you remember 2016. Trump said he would carpet bomb ISIS if they ever dared threaten the U.S. And this is him saying he's going to blow Iran to smithereens. I don't know. I like that. I like that Trump. That's a good style. He made a really good point, though. It's like, who is running our country? Who is our president? In fact, no one really knows, right? So Kamala made this asinine claim that she worked at McDonald's, yet there's no proof, right? She might have worked at McDonald's, but guess what? She hasn't been able to provide a single shred of evidence that she did so, other than, her classic line, "I worked the fries." I don't know. Something about Kamala telling the truth doesn't really drive well. And it's very possible that she never really worked at McDonald's. Trump called her out straight up last night, and it was so good. We have that clip for you. Trump talking about Kamala's McDonald's elusive resume.
We don't want to hear Kamala's fake promises, even something like she worked very long and hard hours over French fries at McDonald's. She'd never worked at McDonald's. It was a fake story. It was a fake story. The press now refuses to write it because it's so, there's a very simple one. She said she worked at McDonald's and she didn't. Not highly sophisticated, not complicated. It was a lie. She never worked at McDonald's over the hot French fries. I think I'm going to a McDonald's in 2 weeks, actually, and I'm going to work the French fries because I will have worked longer and harder at McDonald's than she did if I do that even for half an hour.
I really hope President Trump sends me an invite to watch him work the fries at McDonald's if he does that. That would be absolutely legendary. He's got it. He's quick with the quips this past week. He's been on that 2016 energy. So very cool. I mean, if Trump works the fries, listen, I think that's a campaign sealer right there. I think that'll get him the White House right there. So Kamala last night, she actually got asked about her McDonald's resume. Her answer was probably more revealing than you would expect. Probably not for the way she expected, but we have that clip for you. Kamala on McDonald's.
First one, just a fact check, because your opponent almost every day. Okay,
there's no such thing as a little job.
Okay, fair. Because your opponent almost every day seems to be talking about this. So I just want to ask you yes or no. At any point in your life, have you served 2 all-beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions on a sesame seed bun, working out at McDonald's? Yes or no? That's it.
I have.
Okay. Now the other job. But
it was not a small job. Like, I did the fries. I mean, yes, but I did.
Yes, she did the fries just like she did the border, meaning she never did it. So very, very interesting response here by Kamala Harris. I think it kind of proves that she probably never worked at McDonald's. But she did the fries. She did the fries. Okay, we have Kamala Harris, she was asked last night about, just what her plan would be. She gave probably the worst word salad that has ever come out of the mouth of Kamala Harris, and that's saying a lot. So guard your ears, because what we have now is Kamala's ultimate nuclear cringe word salad. Let's play it.
Madam Vice President, you just laid out your economic vision for the future. Yeah. But still, there are lots of Americans who don't see themselves in your plans. For those who say these policies aren't for me, what do you say to them?
Well, if you are hardworking, if you have the dreams and the ambitions and the aspirations of what I believe you do, you're in my plan. I have to tell you, I really love and am so energized by what I know to be the spirit and character of the American people. We have ambition. We have aspirations. We have dreams. We can see what's possible. We have an incredible work ethic. But not everyone has the access to the opportunities that allow them to achieve those things. But we don't lack for those things. But not everyone, gets handed stuff on a silver platter. And so my vision for the economy, I call it an opportunity economy, is about making sure that all Americans, wherever they start, wherever they are, have the ability to actually achieve those dreams and those ambitions, which include, for middle-class families, just being able to know that their hard work allows them to get ahead, right? I think we can't and we shouldn't aspire to have an economy that just allows people to get by. People want to do more than just get by. They want to get ahead. And I come from the middle class.
Okay. I warned you. So it is 4:29. Trump is expected to come out and address the press at Trump Tower at 4:30. So whenever he walks on stage, we'll take you live immediately. As of now, he's still not there. We're just looking at an empty podium. But when he does walk on, we'll take you straight there. Okay, so we played you Kamala McDonald's. We played you her just nuclear cringe word salad. We do have her, she said she worked the fries. She said she worked the border. She was asked about the border last night. Let's see how that went for her.
There are people there that are stressed, that feel that they're at capacity. Communities around the country that have legal immigration, many have said we're at capacity. And many feel like the government has said to them, well, adapt, sit down, be quiet. This is how it is. What would a Harris administration do for those communities who've taken in many, many legal immigrants but are at capacity?
Well, first of all, we do have a broken immigration system, and it needs to be fixed. And if we take a step back, months ago, some of the most conservative members of the United States Congress came together with others, proposed a border security bill that would have put 1,500 new border agents on the border to help those hardworking border agents who are there right now working around the clock. Would have put more money into stemming the flow of fentanyl, which is killing Americans around our country and devastating communities. Would have put more resources into our ability to prosecute transnational criminal organizations, which in my career I've prosecuted. Donald Trump got word of the bill, realized it was going to fix a problem he wanted to run on, and told him to kill the bill, don't put it up for a vote. He killed a bill that would have actually been a solution because he wants to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem. And that's part of what needs to be addressed. And my pledge is that when elected president, if the American people will have me, I will bring that bill back and I will sign it into law. And we need a comprehensive plan that includes what we need to do to fortify not only our border, but deal with the fact that we also need to create pathways for people to earn citizenship.
Okay. My fellow Americans, there is another choice. Earlier today, Melania actually got asked, I think for the first time on camera, about the repeated attempted assassination attempts on her husband, President Trump. It was a very sobering moment where you saw a wife get, detach the fact that he's the president, just the fact that it's a wife asking her husband, a wife getting asked about her husband almost getting shot and killed on live TV. It's a really powerful moment. And Trump already addressed it this week, talking about how he would blow Iran to smithereens. He's got threats from Ukraine, threats from Iran. And so I think we just have to play this clip of Melania responding to these attacks. It's very powerful.
I ran to the TV and I rewinded and I watched it. I was only a few minutes behind, and something, I guess, look over me. So I didn't really see live, but maybe, 3 minutes, few minutes later. But when I saw it, it was only, nobody really knew yet, right? Because when you see him on the floor and you don't know what really happened.
And then a few weeks later, there's another attempt on your husband's life at your golf course. Where were you and what was your reaction to this attempt?
I was in New York City, actually. And I saw it on the television. And as soon as I saw it on television, I called again. And he was okay because Secret Service were great. The guys that they were with him, they were fantastic. And I think both of the events, they were really miracles. If you really think about it, the July 13 was a miracle, like that much, and he could not be with us.
And he normally doesn't call for that one screen. He waits
Correct.
till the end of the
Correct.
speech. So just looking at that screen allowed him to turn his head.
I think something was watching over him. I think he's, it's almost like country really needs him.
I told you it was powerful. You can tell when God really touches the heart of someone. You can see that by just the tone of the Trump family after Butler and the recent assassination attempt in Palm Beach. You can tell they've been sobered by this and touched by it. Trump thanks God at every single speech he gives now for his life, saying that God's not done with him. So very, very powerful stuff. Trump earlier this week gave a blistering message to Iran. We actually have a video released by Iran itself, by their state media, outlining what an attack would look like. And interestingly enough, it might look very familiar to one we just witnessed, I don't know, like 10 days ago. Let's play that. It's chilling when you see a foreign nation just blatantly threaten the leading presidential candidate like that. And then not only that, but you see a lot of parallels with the recent assassination attempt. So Listen, we're just like 40 some days out. It's going to be the moment where when we decide, President Trump took a bullet for us. Can we just go out and vote for him? That's kind of the least we could do at this point. So Melania on assassinations, we played for you. We have a clip of Melania talking about not only the threats coming from foreign nations, not only the threats coming from, just insane, people, but the fact that the people egging this on are the people who will cry about, Republican violence and whatnot. It's the media. The media has been egging us on, calling Trump Hitler repeatedly for almost 10 years now. So when does it stop, right? If you keep calling Trump Hitler, what do you think is going to happen? And it's the absolute just disgusting nature of our media in this country that pushes people to such dangerous extremes. We have a clip of Melania talking about just that. It's a good one.
The mainstream media, there were a few days of reporting about July 13 event, and everything then became quiet. So I had a lot of questions. What's going on? This is not normal. And is it really shocking that all this egregious violence goes against my husband? Especially that we hear the leaders from the opposition party and mainstream media branding him as a threat to democracy, calling him vile names. They only fueling a toxic atmosphere and giving power all of these people that they want to do harm to him. This needs to stop. This needs to stop. The country needs to unite. And I encourage everybody to read my letter that I wrote on July 14 again, because that cannot continue.
This needs to stop. This cannot continue. Wise and powerful words there from our First Lady, Melania Trump. We all saw it on live TV. I think we can all remember that moment on July 13th, where we were, what we were doing, who we were with when Donald Trump took a bullet for democracy live on TV. Melania talks a little bit about Trump's spirit in that moment, and also just throughout his years in the White House, his years just as a leader of the conservative movement in this country. It's a very powerful clip. I think it's always special to hear from Trump's wife. It's a very interesting perspective, but I think it's something we can all relate to. We all saw Trump get up on stage that day, pump his fist in the air, fight, fight, fight. It's a powerful clip, and Melania just couldn't have said it better. So let's hear what she has to say.
People say they don't like him. What do you wish they knew about him?
That he is really a family man. He loves his family. He loves this country. And all he wants to build better and prosperous.
Yeah, he's just strong. He's not afraid to.
No, he's not
talk about the way it really is.
You could see the way he was when he was shot, that in the ear, that the way he stood up and he said, fight, 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 because we cannot allow that to happen.
Fight, fight, fight. Okay, we have, we're in this age of lawfare now, where we have the DOJ directly targeting President Trump because they know they can't beat him otherwise. What other reason would they have for attacking the Republican candidate, if not only trying to kill him, but trying to put him in jail, if they didn't think he was going to win? It's the only way they think they can beat him. And if you don't remember, there was a little raid on Mar-a-Lago not too long ago, where they went through Barron Trump's room. They went through Melania Trump's boudoir. Very invasive. And I can't, this has never happened with any other candidate. But, here they did it with Trump, and because again, they can't beat him any other way. Melania is kind of taken like she's very behind the scenes, but whenever we get that rare Melania Trump clip, it's always profound and very interesting. Okay, we're going to play that for you later. We actually have Trump live at Trump Tower right now. Let's go to that.
After being named border czar, Kamala Harris will be visiting the southern border that she has completely destroyed, from what I understand, tomorrow. Why would she go to the border now, playing right into the hand of her opponent? I mean, you take a look at this. Why would you do that? There can be no justification for what she's done. There's nobody saying, oh, gee, she's done a fabulous job. She's done the worst job probably in the history of any border, not just our border. She keeps talking about how she supposedly wants to fix the border. We would merely ask, why didn't she do it 4 years ago? It's a very simple question. I can say this with everything she has. She talks about borders and taxes and all these different things. Her policies on tax, by the way, are terrible, but I can say it for everything. Why didn't she fix it almost 4 years ago? She's got no plans, got no talent, got no ability to do it. I'm here today to present you with the facts and only the facts about how Comrade Kamala Harris willfully threw open our border, helping to virtually destroy our country. Our country's never been under siege like this. 4 years ago, Kamala inherited the most secure border in U.S. history, with the lowest illegal immigration on record. You know the chart. I love that chart. I love that chart. I probably wouldn't be here right now except for that chart. Those who violated our borders were captured, detained, and quickly sent back home under the Trump administration. But on her first day in office, Kamala Harris terminated every single Trump policy that sealed and secured the border. She ordered an immediate stop to the completion of the border wall. It was almost complete. We built hundreds and hundreds of miles of wall, and it worked. I always said walls and wheels. Everything else is obsolete, but walls and wheels, and this wall worked. And we were ready to build and throw up another 200. Could have been done within weeks. Everything was complete. The wall was all built, ready to go, laying there, ready to be fixed. All they had to do is throw it up, and you would have had an extra 200 miles of wall, far more than I promised in the election. She suspended all deportations. She instituted catch and release across the entire southern border. And we had catch and release also, but we released in Mexico. Her catch and release was to release in the United States and never see them again. She sent Congress a bill demanding amnesty for all illegal aliens, every single illegal alien, even if they're criminals, even if they're murderers, even if they're drug dealers, human traffickers. She wanted amnesty for everybody. Radical left. This is a radical left person. She terminated Remain in Mexico, something that took me and a lot of talent, a lot of other people, but it took a lot of talent to get from the president of Mexico, a good man. But we got it. You had to remain in Mexico. You couldn't come in under any circumstance. You weren't allowed into the United States until we checked it out, and many people did not come in and were not allowed to come in because they didn't check out. They were drug dealers, they were gang members, they were in jail for murder in a couple of cases. We wouldn't let them in. And she canceled every Safe Third agreement. Anybody here, I think, would know what that is, but that was a horrible thing that she did. And she canceled Remain in Mexico. Here we have something, Remain in Mexico. You don't have to explain it. She canceled. She ordered ICE to halt the removal of virtually all criminal aliens, including MS-13 gang members, the worst gang anywhere in the world, they say. Evil, evil gang. She ended all of our programs that we instituted to stop child and woman trafficking. The trafficking is at a level now that it's never been before. I had it down to the lowest level it's been in 32 years because we had such a strong border. They couldn't get through. But now it's the worst it's been in 32 years plus. And then she lost, and this is probably the worst statistic of them all, 325,000 children. Think of that. 3.5 years. She lost 325,000 children. And they're either dead, being sold into sex slavery, or just plain missing. Think of the number, 325,000. If that were a Republican instead of her, and she was the border czar, she says, well, I wasn't the border czar, she was. And tomorrow she'll make a case that, oh, she did a fairly good job. You can't say much. You can't justify it. She should save her airfare. She should go back to the White House and tell the president to close the border. He can do it with the signing of just a signature on a piece of paper to the Border Patrol. Instead, she's going there to try and convince people that she wasn't as bad as everybody knows she was. She was the worst in history. Grossly incompetent, weak, and ineffective. And all you have to do is ask Brandon Judd, Border Patrol. You could ask any of them. Tom Homan. We had the best people that we've ever had, and they said Trump was the best president on the border ever. She ripped up every single reform that we put in place to stop asylum fraud. She ended a travel ban that was unbelievably successful. We had the strongest travel ban anywhere in the world, and it was upheld by the United States Supreme Court. She canceled Title 42. That was a medical title. She canceled it, very hard to get. And altogether, she took 93 executive orders that I put on, all which made the border the best border we've ever had in recorded history. And she terminated them along with Joe Biden, the worst administration in the history of our country. And on the border, it's not even close. Because of these acts, in less than 4 years, 21 million illegal aliens at least. That's the real number. You don't hear that. You hear 15, 16. Sometimes you hear 17. The number is at least 21 million. And on top of that, you have gotaways. That's gotaways. That's people that came over or got away. And they've stormed across our border like nobody in history on any border anywhere in the world. There's never been any border in history where you had millions of people storming us like that. No third world country would allow it. But she allowed it because she's incompetent. She allowed it because she never went there. She says she went once, but it was not the right location. It was a location that was very mild and no danger. She never went there. She's going there tomorrow after almost 4 years. She's going there tomorrow to try and show you what a great job she did. But even now, the numbers are terrible. And remember, they're flying people over, and they haven't stopped that. They're flying hundreds of thousands of people over the border right now. They never stopped that. They didn't think they'd be caught, but they were 2 weeks ago. From prisons and jails, mental institutions, and insane asylum, all these insane asylums where you have the sickest people, mentally ill people, and terrorists at record levels. We've never had terrorists come into our country like this. They come, and they keep coming and coming, and nobody has ever seen anything like it. People that go to the border, they look professionals, and they said there's never been anything like this in the history of the world, and they are destroying the fabric of our country. She did nothing to stop any of it. In fact, she encouraged them to keep coming, and you know that. For years she did. Only recently did she say, oh, well, we're going to try and put a stop to it. And I ask again, this should be the why didn't she do it speech. Why didn't she do it? All of these things, including unrelated elements to what we're talking about now, like taxes, like military, like so many other things. Why didn't she do it? She's got plans for the future. Why didn't she do it? She's been there almost 4 years. Kamala created a brand new program to fly in migrants from Venezuela, Haiti, and Nicaragua and resettle them in American communities, including small towns all across our nation, but in particular in Pennsylvania, Ohio, Wisconsin, and North Carolina. Nobody can believe it. These towns have been destroyed, and the mayors of the towns and the governors of the states can't talk about it because they're embarrassed that they allowed it to happen. In addition, through her phone app, something totally new now, it's a phone app for migrants, where migrants call in, highly sophisticated migrants. She's allowed virtually unlimited numbers of illegals to press a button, schedule their illegal immigration appointment at our ports of entry, and show up to be released into the interior of our country. Can anybody believe this? And they're invading our towns. It's an invasion of our country like no country has ever had to suffer before. And this was purposeful. They did this on purpose. This was not a mistake on their part. They did this on purpose because their policies are so wrong and so evil and so unfair. And there's only 3 reasons they want to do that. Number one, they're incompetent. And I'm not sure that that's the reason. Number 2, they want it for the votes. Number 3, you know what that one is. We don't have to talk about that one. But there can only be a very few reasons, because they're destroying our country at a level that's never been seen before. Importantly, as part of this con job, it's a con job. None of the illegal aliens she is smuggling in through the ports or on the airplanes. Think of it. Big jet planes loaded up with migrants flying into the middle of our country and going to Iowa and lots of other states. They've all become border states. We only have border states now. But they're counted in the Border Patrol statistics. And when you do that, you can add a lot of numbers because they're not taking those counts. They want to have those counts not included in the numbers. In Aurora, Colorado, Springfield, Ohio, where it's been a mass invasion. These were 2 beautiful, successful towns, idyllic. And they're in trouble, big trouble. And very unfair. The people want to leave. They want to get out. But everyone's afraid to say, I want to get out, because they want to be politically correct. And other towns just like them, hundreds of them all over America. Americans have watched their communities destroyed by this sudden, suffocating inundation of illegal aliens. It's an inundation. It's an invasion. This influx has overwhelmed our schools. They're taking the seats of students that can no longer go there, and they don't even speak English. They're trying to fire a lot of people and hire interpreters. Can you believe that? They want to get rid of some people. They want to hire. Springfield is looking, the mayor said it the other day, looking for interpreters because nobody in all of the 32,000 people that took into the town, think of this. You have a town of 50,000 people, and almost instantly you have 32,000 people, in this case from Haiti. Most of them don't speak English, so they're looking for interpreters. You have to get them out. We have to save our country. You have to save these towns. They flooded the job market with low-wage migrants, but many cases migrants that also have horrible criminal records, murder, drug dealing, so many different things, a lot of human traffickers, and it's mostly human traffickers in women. Last month, American-born workers lost 1.3 million jobs. This is last month. You know, when they lowered the interest rates, they weren't doing it necessarily just for political. Our economy is terrible, especially when you add inflation into it. Inflation has destroyed our middle class. It's destroyed our senior citizens. And all of these people coming in are horrible for the Black population and the Hispanic population. They're taking the jobs of the Black population at levels that they've never seen before. Hispanic also, they're suffering, and the families are suffering. They go out, they think they have a job, and they've lost a job to an illegal migrant. So we've lost 1.3 million. We've gained out of that number 635,000 jobs, but every single one of them was an illegal migrant. They've also, as you know, and you've heard me talk about it, just happened very recently, we found out 818,000 jobs were fraud. They fraudulently claimed that the economy picked up 818,000 more jobs than they stated. And a whistleblower or leaker let it be known that that was false, that the 818,000 jobs was a false fraud. It was a fraud. It should be investigated, by the way. But Biden knew about it and Kamala knew about it. And they were going to release the real figures right after the election. But by putting 818,000 phony, fake, disgusting jobs that don't exist, by putting them on the rolls, it made them look much better a short while ago. But they didn't quite make it to past election day. So to that whistleblower or leaker, I want to, on behalf of the American public, thank you very much. These people are a fraud. Just like nobody talks about it, but Kamala never had a job at McDonald's. Her resume talks about McDonald's, McDonald's, McDonald's. When I worked at the French fry counter, it was so tough, so hot. She didn't work there. She never worked at McDonald's. It was a lie. Most heartbreaking of all is Kamala's migrant invasion has brought massive crime into our country at levels that nobody's ever seen before. We've never seen levels like this. And during the debate, I mentioned that, and David Muir, a real lightweight, whose ratings have gone way down, by the way, because he lost credibility. I had 1 against 3, but I think we did great. But David Muir of ABC, fake news, when I said that crime is way up in our country, he corrected me. He corrected me on so much, and it was right what I said. He didn't correct her one time, and what she said was wrong. Absolutely wrong. So many different Charlottesville. She was wrong. All of the different things, almost everything she said, and she was never corrected. But he corrected me in crime. He said, no, crime has not gone up. I said, crime has gone up massively. He said, I'd like to state for the record that crime has not gone up. Now, you don't know this, but we had a deal with ABC that there will be no corrections of any kind. And they violated the deal. Why? Because they're bad people and they're fake news. So he did it many times to me during the debate. He violated the deal. That's the deal. Because you can take anything and try and make up stories with it. We had a deal where that wouldn't happen. You could do whatever you wanted as soon as the debate was over. But he did it in total violation of what our agreement was. And a lot of people, they're standing right over there, will tell you exactly what it was. We'll show you what it was. David Muir has lost all credibility. The other person, I never heard of her. I never want to hear of her. She was terrible. I don't know how she ever got her job in the first place. But we have a country to save, and we can't have fake news like that. And his ratings deserve to go down. Here in New York City, an estimated 75% of arrests in Midtown Manhattan and over 60% of arrests in Queens are now illegal aliens. They've given you the fake stories that the illegals coming into the country are much better than our people. They don't commit crimes. These are some of the worst criminals anywhere in the world. And they don't just come from South America. They come from all over the world. The Congo in Africa, a lot of them coming from the Congo. The Middle East, Asia. They do come from South America, but not all. They're coming from all over the world, and they're emptying out their jails, and they're emptying out their mental institutions. The money they're saving is beyond belief, and what they're doing to our country. And if I were the president of one of those countries, I'd be doing the same thing. I'd say, let's empty out our jails into the United States. We're dumping ground for the rest of the world, and it's going to stop starting on January 20th. But the most important day in the history of our country is going to be November 5th, Election Day. 3 months ago in Queens, an illegal alien released into our country by Border Czar Harris approached two 13-year-old children with a machete in broad daylight, forced them into the woods, tied them together by the wrists, and raped the young girl, hurt the girls very, very badly. They caught him because he put it on tape. He put it on film. They caught him. He thought it would be nice to have it on tape to show his friends. In June, 2 NYPD officers were shot at point-blank range by an illegal migrant from Venezuela. By the way, the crime rate in Venezuela is down to the lowest level it's ever been that they know of, because they've taken their street gangs, they've taken their criminals off the streets, they've taken their drug dealers, and they've emptied their jails almost. They'll be emptied very soon, within the next 2 months. I guess they can't get enough buses. But they're bringing people at record levels to our country. These are criminals, and their crime rate is the lowest it's been ever that anybody can remember. Caracas has become a safe and wonderful city, unlike our cities that are getting worse and worse with this horrible invasion that Kamala in particular, because I'm no fan of Biden. He's been a terrible president, doesn't know what he's doing, and he proved that during the debate. But you know what? He assigned her the job, and whether you call her a border czar or just say that she was put in charge of the border, doesn't make any difference. Same thing. She's done a horrible job, and she'll be out there tomorrow standing probably in front of the wall that I built, trying to say what a wonderful job she did, and the fake news will believe her because that's what they want to do. But she didn't, and I hope everybody out there understands that. The Border Patrol custody was incredible, and I have to say that Border Patrol has done an amazing job under the circumstances. And you heard Tom Homan many times say there was never anywhere near anybody as good as President Trump when it came to all of the things that we're talking about, the border, crime on the border. He said there wasn't anybody even close as president. In Albany last May, an illegal alien who was caught and released by Kamala Harris stalked and raped a 15-year-old girl, driving up behind her, abducting her by force with a metal pipe, and raping her again and again, over and over, and hurting her very badly. In Indiana this June, a woman was kidnapped by two illegal aliens, brought to a house, held down and raped, and then forced into the back of a car while illegals drove around talking about how to kill her. Let's find out how to kill her. She threw herself out of the moving vehicle, was badly hurt, but escaped. And she said, they didn't mean to rape me. They meant to kill me. That was her statement. Earlier this year, an illegal migrant from Haiti granted entry by Kamala and her horrible policies, and in particular, her phone app, which nobody can even believe exists. And the people that deal with the phone app are the cartel heads, if you can believe this. They're actually put there, I believe, for the heads of the cartels. And they call it and they tell you exactly where to illegally bring the people that they've, in many cases, abducted. The phone app, I hope the press looks into that. Brutally stabbed this woman to death. 2 people in suburban Middletown, New York, are looking at this with a life that will always be shattered. It'll be shattered and can never be the same. The brutality was unbelievable. And despite all of this, Kamala Harris intends to stand before the American people tomorrow and lie. She's going to lie just like she did about her job at McDonald's, just like she did about the 818,000 jobs that they created that were fake jobs. They didn't exist. It's a fraud. And there's nothing nice about what I'm saying. Our country's in trouble. And we need people that know how to take care of our country and take care of our border. Without borders and without fair elections, we have no country. She wants to pretend that she had a secure border, but all you have to do is look at the numbers. The worst border anywhere, probably anywhere in the world. There's never been a border like this. A third world country would have used sticks and stones to get people out. They wouldn't let millions and millions of people invade. But if that were true, and if she were going to announce tomorrow that she's going to do something about it, why hasn't she done it? And why didn't she do it almost 4 years ago? All of these things she could have done 4 years ago. You will hear Kamala claim that the reason the border is not secure is that Congress has refused to pass her atrocious border bill. It's the worst bill you've ever seen. It would allow people to come in here at levels that would be incredible and would allow them to get citizenship. But it was not a border bill. It was an amnesty bill. And they duped a couple of people that shouldn't have been duped. It would give her the power to put all newly entering illegal aliens on a fast track to citizenship. It would enshrine and expand catch and release, and it would give a permanent feature of federal laws that are absolutely unacceptable. She keeps talking about this law that they tried to put through Congress, but fortunately, Congress was too smart for it. It would have been a disaster. It would have established a minimum number of illegal aliens who must be important, because 2 million people per year at a minimum would have been, under this ridiculous bill, would have been allowed into our country. 2 million people. Now, of course, that's peanuts compared to what's coming in now and what's coming in when the damage was really done. Look, the damage was done. They're trying to make it look better now. But the damage was done over the first 3 years. They're trying to do anything to make it look better, because it doesn't poll very well for them, but it polls very well for me. I think I won the election in 2016 because of the border. I fixed the border. I couldn't even talk about the border. My people would say, sir, nobody's listening. You fixed it. Nobody cares. In 2020. Then I got millions of more votes in 2020 than I got in 2016, the most votes of any sitting president in history by far. But I couldn't talk about the border because I fixed it. I fixed it. It was great. But now we can talk about the border because this border, they unfixed it. This border is the worst border. And by the way, 25 times worse and more deadly than the border in 2016. That was considered a good border by compared to this. But it would provide illegal, the bill, alien taxpayer-funded lawyers every illegal alien would have a taxpayer-funded lawyer. This is the bill that she said she wants, and funnel millions of dollars of left-wing organizations, people, to come into our country. It would enable human trafficking. And by the way, she also wanted to have transgender operations for illegal migrants that were in detention. Now think of that. She also wanted, as you know, to defund the police. She wants to defund the police. She was one of the leaders in the defund the police movement, and that lasted for years. And anybody that wants to defund the police for one day should never have the right to be president of the United States. And she was one of the leaders in that movement. But think of that. She wants to give sex change operations to people in detention that came in illegally and are classified as illegal migrants. If they want a sex change operation, she said, that's okay, we'll do that. The only way to secure our border is to fire radical border czar Kamala Harris this November. Look, we talk about the border. She's been just as bad on everything else. We have the worst inflation, I think, in the history of our country. They say 48 years, but that's pretty bad too. But I think the actual number of years is, I think it brings it out to the worst ever. Kamala Harris endorsed abolishing ICE. She is seen as a down with deportations, opportunists, but people don't realize that the people of this country want deportations of those criminals. They want the murderers out. They want the drug dealers out. They want everybody out who's going to hurt them. They want to have a safe country. As I said, before being interrupted by lightweight anchor David Muir, crime is massively up in our country. It's very lucky the Department of Justice released numbers right after that debate. Somebody in there might like me, but they released numbers, giving the real numbers, and the numbers were unbelievably, shockingly high, the highest ever. And I haven't gotten an apology. I want an apology from ABC. She supports free taxpayer-funded health care for illegal aliens, and even, as I said, some of the horrible things that she's willing to do, including the sex change operations for people in detention. She called for abolishing immigration detention centers. She wants to have detention centers, but detention centers that you can get out of. Remember when in 2014, Obama built cages and the fake news tried to say, I built them. Fortunately, we had a great American that said, no, these were built during the Obama administration, and Biden knew about it, but I don't think Biden knows too much. And we have one other thing that she's called. She's called the grandmother of sanctuary cities. I'm going to terminate all sanctuary cities. Sanctuary cities are sanctuary for criminals. They're sanctuaries for criminals. And, you know, you can go to California where she ruined San Francisco. She destroyed. San Francisco may have been the greatest city in the world 16, 18 years ago. And now it's a practically unlivable place. And I hate to say that. I have property in San Francisco. It's not a good thing to say, but this far supersedes my ownership of property. It's an unlivable place. It was the best city. Bob Tisch of Lowe's, friend of mine, great guy, wonderful man. He was in San Francisco. He was in Chicago. He had big businesses all over, the Tisch family. Bob Tisch used to tell me that he thinks San Francisco is the greatest city in the country. Passed away quite a while ago. And San Francisco probably was, and now it's not even livable. She destroyed it when she was the DA, and she destroyed the state of California along with Gavin Newsom. She destroyed the state of California when she was the AG. If you can't say the phrase illegal alien, she said, then we can't trust you to secure the border. She said, you're not allowed to say the phrase under any circumstance, illegal alien, but that's what they are. And it's that simple. She didn't want you to use that term. If you used that term, you'd be fired. And by the way, she fired everybody in a row. She couldn't get along with anybody. You know, it's interesting. 5 months ago, she was considered the worst vice president in history. She was laughed at, scoffed at for 3 years. She was the worst. Her staff hated her beyond belief. They were quitting. She had almost nobody wanted to work there. She couldn't get people to work for her. And she was just considered as bad as it gets. And she wasn't going to be chosen. No way that she was going to be chosen to replace Joe Biden. We had the debate. After the debate, they said, oh, this guy, we got to change him. I think we were up 21 points. But they went in there, and everyone knows they threatened the 25th Amendment. They threatened him with the 25th Amendment. They said, Joe, you're going to get out. And Nancy Pelosi led the charge. And Nancy Pelosi has a little problem because her husband sold their Visa stock. They had a lot of Visa stock one day before Visa was announced that Visa is being sued by the Department of Justice. Think of that. Nancy Pelosi sold vast amounts of Visa stock one day before the big lawsuit that we all read about a few days ago was brought against Visa. You think it was luck? I don't think. She should be prosecuted. Nancy Pelosi should be prosecuted for that. And she should also be prosecuted for J6 because she turned down 10,000 or any number she wanted, soldiers or National Guard. And I hope you all read John Solomon and what John Solomon wrote 2 days ago, because if you read it, you'd see that Donald Trump did absolutely nothing wrong. It's a scam. It's a scam. On day one of my new administration, I will stop all migrant flights immediately. They should stop them tonight. She can do that. Just sign one little page saying stop the migrant flights. But she won't do that. They're infecting our country. They're destroying our country. I will shut down all entries through the migrant phone app, something that most of you haven't even heard of, but it's very active and taking in thousands and thousands of people a week. I will end catch and release, and I will remain in Mexico. I'm going to tell Mexico, thank you very much. You're putting it back. Right away. You're putting it back, and they will do it too when I tell them. I will bring back Title 42. I will send a federal law enforcement, large group of people, but a tough group of people to liberate Aurora, Colorado. The governor of Colorado is petrified of these gangs. These are Venezuelan gangs with equipment better than our military has, going in with guns. The governor of Colorado is a coward. He's afraid to do what you have to do. And every other town that has been taken over by the migrant gangs and criminal alien thugs. And I think I'll go to a couple of these towns over the next 2 weeks. You'll see for yourself what's happened to them. They've been literally destroyed. I will send Congress a bill to ban sanctuary cities in the first day that I become president. And I will tell you, whether it's California or any place else, you might have guys like the governor, Newsom, or others that are governors wanting it. Nobody knows why. But the people don't want them. You can go and ask the people of California, do you want sanctuary cities? The people, including Democrats, will say, we don't want them. We will seal the border. We will stop the invasion, and we will begin the largest deportation of criminals, the criminal element, which is a large portion. We will start that immediately. Dwight Eisenhower had the largest deportation effort ever in our country, President Eisenhower, because he hated the fact that people were able to pour across our border. This will be much larger than that, but we will get rid of the drug dealers. We will get rid of the human traffickers. We will get rid of the murderers, the people that came out of jails, and the people that came out of mental institutions. They will all be gone, and it'll happen very quickly. We'll be dealing with local law enforcement who knows everything about every one of them. Their name, their serial number, they know everything. We respect our police, and we're going to respect law and order again. So I appreciate everybody being here. I just wanted to make this statement before Kamala goes down to the border. Anything she says tomorrow, you know, is a fraud, because she was the worst in history at protecting our country. So she'll try and make herself look a little bit better, but it's not possible. Normally, I would save this speech till after she leaves, but there's not a thing she can say to make it change. As you know, President Zelensky is asked to meet with me, and I will be meeting with him tomorrow morning at around 9:45 in Trump Tower. And it's a shame what's happening in Ukraine. So many deaths, so much destruction. It's a horrible thing. And one of the things that are very bothersome to me is the fact that Europe is paying only a small fraction of the money that the United States of America is paying. And we have an ocean between Russia and ourselves. They don't. So I see what's happening there. It's very, very sad. But we're in for numbers that nobody can even believe. And as you know, the European nations, as a combination, their economy is fairly close to the size of ours. So it's similar. They should be equalizing. They should start paying up. I did this with NATO. I made them all pay. Bush would make a speech and leave. Obama would make a speech and leave. And I said, you got to pay. If you don't pay, we're not going to be there. And everybody paid. And the Secretary General, good man, he said, I've never seen anything like it. For 10 years, we've been trying to get them to pay, and it was only Trump that was able to do it. He was very honest. It's true. That's where they have the money to do what they're doing right now. But they all paid, most of them anyway, hundreds of billions of dollars they paid, and they paid it fast. They said, sir, does that mean you won't protect us if we don't pay? I said, you mean you're delinquent? Yes, let's say we're delinquent. No, you won't be protected. The money came pouring in. Nobody else wanted to say that, and the press thought it was terrible that I made that statement. But if I didn't make that statement, we'd still be paying. You know, we were paying for NATO, most of it, almost all of it, maybe all of it for years. So I'm going to see President Zelensky tomorrow, and thank you all very much. Thank you. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know the mayor well, but he's been fairly generous to me in his statements for a while. I thought you had the worst mayor ever that we had prior to him. I will say this. I watched about a year ago when he talked about how the illegal migrants are hurting our city and the federal government should pay us and we shouldn't have to take them. And I said, you know what? He'll be indicted within a year. And I was exactly right, because that's what we have. We have people that use the Justice Department and the FBI at levels that have never been seen before. So I wish him luck. I don't know anything about what he did, but I told a lot of people right over there, that group was saying, you know, sir, you were right about that. When they mentioned that, I said, they came in and he was pretty strong about it. He said, this is really unfair to make us carry this burden. We shouldn't be doing this. This is New York City. I mean, your parks are loaded up. I just passed recently Madison Avenue, the Roosevelt Hotel. It's like nobody would recognize it. That's Midtown. But he came out very strongly against it. He was right, by the way, because it's ruining our country. He was honest. And I said, he will be indicted within a year. And that's what happened. And I noticed the indictment's very old. It goes back a long time. Well, I had the same thing. They went way before the statute of limitations. So I wish him well, but I said that he will be indicted because he did that. You take a look. That's what they do. These are dirty players. These are bad people. They cheat and they do anything necessary. These are bad people. And we need an honest Justice Department. We need an honest FBI, and we need it fast. Yeah.
Keir Starmer, the UK Premier.
Yes, he's coming tonight.
What do you think of him? Some of his colleagues in government are quite critical of you.
Well, I'm going to see him in about an hour, so I have to be nice, right? Yeah. But I actually think he's very nice. I think he ran a great race. He did very well. It's very early, but he's popular, and I'll be seeing him, and I'll send you regards. Who are you with? Who are you with?
I'm with GB News in the UK.
Okay, good.
Would you rather Nigel Farage would have a bigger role?
Well, I think Nigel is great. I mean, I've known him for a long time. He had a great election, too. Picked up a lot of seats, more seats than he was allowed to have, actually. They acknowledge that he won, but for some reason, you have a very strange system over there. You might win him, but you don't get him. Nigel is a fantastic person.
Mr. President. President Zelensky said that you do not understand what it takes to win this war.
Oh, then I should immediately cancel my appointment. No, he knows. He knows I understand. Look. I hate to see the carnage. If I were president, it never would have happened. Russia would have never attacked Ukraine. Never, ever. And by the way, President Xi would have never even thought about Taiwan, which he's thinking about very seriously now, flying planes over it every single day. But President Putin would have never attacked. When I look at the horror show that's gone on, and the level of death is far greater than what is being reported. When you look at those cities, they're all knocked down, those beautiful, gorgeous golden domes, they're shattered and lying on their side, never to be replaced again. You can't ever replace that. 2,000 years old. When you look at the heritage of that really very vibrant country in so many different ways, and you see how it's been so broken, the people, so many people dead, where they have to use old soldiers, old men and young boys because they're running out of soldiers. It's a very terrible thing. And then you see that the United States is paying for most of it, and Europe is not chipping in. And all you have to do with Europe is the same thing I did with NATO. Say you have to pay. And if you say you have to pay, they will. It's very unfair to the United States, but I look forward to seeing him tomorrow. We'll see. I do believe, I disagree with him. Well, he doesn't know me, but I disagree. But I will say this. I believe I will be able to make a deal between President Putin and President Zelensky quite quickly.
But what does that look like? What does that look like? What does that?
I don't want to tell you what that looks like.
The vice president suggested today that your strategy with Ukraine amounts to surrender to Russia. How do you respond to that?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. And it's not a surrender. What my strategy is to save lives. I want to save lives. Millions of people are dead. Millions more than they even think about. And it's not my fight, but it is a fight to save humanity. That is a terrible, let me explain. That is a terrible war that would have never happened. And it didn't happen. I even have Democrats. I watched them on Deface the Nation and some of the shows this weekend. And they said, well, we agree that it wouldn't have happened if Trump were president. I was very generous of them. But it would have never happened. That's what bothers me even more. There was no reason for that war to happen, but it did happen. And millions of people are dead, including soldiers from both sides. It's so sad to see it. And I'll meet with President Zelensky and we'll see what happens. But I believe I can work that out.
Would you encourage
it would have been, I will say this, it would have been a lot easier to work out prior to the start. And Putin never, ever even thought about going in. And it was the apple of his eye. I knew him very well, had a very good relationship, despite the Russia hoax. It was a total hoax. But we had a very good relationship. Fortunately, otherwise we could have ended up in war over that. That's very dangerous. You know, when you make up stories like that, it's very dangerous. The laptop from hell was very dangerous. But Putin told me often, it's the apple of his eye. But I said, Vladimir, don't even think about doing it. He would have never done it. And then, of course, through stupid oil policies and energy policies where oil get up to almost $100 a barrel, Putin said, wow, I have a lot more money than I thought I had. And he prosecuted the war. But even if it went up, and it wouldn't have gone up like that, that's what caused inflation, that and stupid spending for the Green New Deal, which was a Green New Scam, turned out. Do you notice that they don't ever mention anything about environment anymore? What happened to the environment? They don't mention it. They don't mention that the ocean's going to rise 1/4 of an inch over the next 500 years. They don't mention it anymore. It's incredible. I will say this, though. What they should start mentioning is nuclear warming, because we're in grave danger. The world is in grave danger, and you better get smart people. You know, during my term, I never mentioned the word nuclear, but that's the warming that you're going to have to be very careful with. And we're very close to World War III, whether it's the Middle East or that. October 7th would have never happened. Iran had no money. I guess that's probably why you hear the stories about Iran. Only a consequential president would have this happen. Only a consequential president. But Iran would have made a deal with us. It would have been a great deal for them. The only thing is they cannot have nuclear weapons. And we would have had it because Iran had no money during my administration. They were broke. And they would have made a deal and they would have been happy. And they would have had an unbelievable civilization. But it didn't work out that way because of a thing that was very sad to watch. That was the election, a very sad thing to watch.
Would you still make a deal with them now after everything that's happened? If you were reelected,
Make a deal with who? Make a
deal
deal with who?
Would you try to make a deal with Iran of some kind if you were reelected?
Sure, I would do that. Yeah, I believe in getting. It doesn't matter. I have a great memory, but it's a memory that wants to serve the people. We have to make a deal because the consequences are impossible. We have to make a deal. And they would have had a deal. I would have said we would have had the results of the election been correct. We would have had a deal within 1 week after the election. I was prepared to get it done within 1 week after the election. They could have done that too, but they had no idea how to go about it. They could have done it because I gave them a country that wanted to make a deal. They had to. There was no money to Hamas. There was no money to Hezbollah because Iran didn't have the money. Now Iran has $300 billion. They made it all in the last 3.5 years. The sanctions came off. They made it all in the last 3.5 years. Plus, they essentially have Iraq as a subsidiary, and Iraq has $300 billion. So Iran is a very rich country. They have $600 to $650 billion, including Iraq. Iraq doesn't like it when I say that, but that's true. They're really a subsidiary because foolishly Bush wiped out. You had two powerful forces. One of those forces got wiped out. And now the other force, after 1,000 years, walks in and just essentially takes it over. So it's very sad to watch. But Iran now is a big force because they're very rich. Iran was not rich at all. Iran didn't have the money to take care of the various organizations of terror. Okay.
Yesterday at the UN General Assembly came together to call for an immediate ceasefire. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is speaking at the UN tomorrow. He has refused to do that. What would you do differently to prevent the Middle East?
Well, you have to have that ended one way or the other. The world isn't going to take it. You have to have that ended. And I would think that we're getting close to a point where maybe it can end pretty soon. But you're going to have to end. That's unacceptable. The whole thing over there is unacceptable. That's another one. October 7th would have never happened. Would have never happened. Ukraine and Russia would have never happened. Think of it. Would have never happened. Inflation would have never happened. Think of the world. The Afghanistan pullout in that way. We would have pulled out, but we would have pulled out with dignity and strength. I'm the one that got it down to that number. But I would have kept Bagram because Bagram is this massive Air Force base that we built many, many years ago with billions and billions of dollars, the most powerful runways that can hold more load than any other runway in the world. And we walked away from it. And it wasn't Afghanistan that was the problem. We walked away from a great military base that we built to the highest specifications that was 1 hour away from where China makes its nuclear weapons. We are being run by Kamala, who is grossly incompetent. All you have to do is look at her interview last night, look at her interview with Oprah, look at her interview with the gentleman from Pennsylvania. All you have to do is look around and you'll see it. We had 4 years of incompetent leadership. We cannot as a country sustain another 4 years. Thank you very much.
Are you going to pull your endorsement of Mark Robinson?
I don't know the situation.
Do you believe that Ukraine should turn over some of its own land to Russia in order to end the war?
We'll see what happens.
What's your message to the
We'll
listener
see what
tomorrow?
happens. Let's get some peace. We need peace. We need to stop the death and destruction. Don't you think? Wouldn't that be nice? Huh?
Do you have a plan to meet Benjamin Netanyahu in person?
Well, we're going to meet a lot of people. Many of the leaders have been calling me, and they want to meet. So I guess they see the poll numbers. We're leading in the polls, by the way, very seriously. The Daily Mail just came out with a very big poll, and we're up by 10. So that's an honor. But we have no choice. If we don't win this election, we're not going to have a country. Thank you very much.
Will you divest from your crypto company if you win?
Those that want people to believe that you want retribution, that you will use the system of justice to go after your political enemies.
Maybe smash a few things along the way.
Where the truth gon' be, faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to light. From the speeches to debates, Benny sharp like a blade, cutting through the lies, watch the truth cascade. With the warrior's heart, this man never fades. You know it's prime time when Benny invades. From saving the nation to stories untold, the Benny Show's a storm, see the truth unfold. Stay in the loop, let freedom take hold. Salting all the libs, soul never sold. It's the Benny Show, where the truth gon' be. Faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to light. Liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. From the speeches to debates, Benny sharp like a blade, cutting through the lies, watch the truth cascade. With the warrior's heart, this man never fades. You know it's prime time when Benny invades. From saving the nation to stories untold, the Benny Show's a storm, see the truth unfold. Stay in the loop, let freedom take hold. Salting all the libs, soul never sold. It's the Benny Show, where the truth gon' be. Faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light.